this weekend at middleweight, we have a big-time UFC debut. This is one of those fights where you tell your buddies to come over and you say, hey, get over a little bit earlier. We got the Costco entrees popped in. You're going to want those on a Saturday to get set for the UFC debut of Shara Magomedov, Muay Thai zone. He's going to be taking on Blindado, Bruno Silva, former M1 global middleweight champ. But when I look at this matchup, Matt, this is one of those UFC debuts that fight fans know about. Shara Magomedov, as a K1 athlete, he went 18-2. That's an awesome record. And then you go through, you look at it, he was a Eurasian champ in one sport that they call Burmese boxing, also known as Lethwei. And in the UFC, there's only one Lethwei athlete that I can think of that made it somewhat far, and that's Yulia Stoliarenko. But you think of Canada's Dave LeDuc. He got pretty high over there.
He did.
And then he did and said things that people didn't like, and it kind of forced him out of it. But when you look at Shara Magomedov, the Muay Thai that he possesses is some of the most deadly that I've ever seen watching the tape.
Very
and
nice.
when I look at Shara Magomedov's record, he's 11-0. You see the topologies and all the different record collectives where there's some other selective fights, but they aren't actually pro MMA fights. You go down through it. A really good article that was done out there in 2022 by a friend of the show, Sean Bitter with The Scrap, and he added a little bit more into it that I found interesting. Russian Muay Thai champ, I was unaware of that one. And of course, in BJJ, Shara Magomedov has competed. Now, if you're a guy named Jakub Bilko in a fight that I watched today, or a grappling match that I watched, Shara Magomedov gets caught in a heel hook, he taps, and then he gets up, as he's trying to get up, kicks his opponent, and gets on top of him like he wants to fight him. This guy's got a temper that's as hot as the coals in a fire. And so there's some things that kind of take away from it. Again, I opened the show by saying you don't want to be a couple kissing in public going up an escalator. Shara Magomedov will open a can of whoop-ass, allegedly, on you. But just for his fight skills, Matt, for Magomedov in the tape study, it's a fan-friendly style. It's easy enough to find. Now, I'll admit it, like Drizzy Drake said one time. I spent $9.99 on Fight TV to watch a Glory Heroes card that Shara Magomedov was on. Brad Riddell was on that card. It was his second. Well, he was 2 fights away from the UFC, we'll put it that way. Brad Riddell competing in MMA, wearing a t-shirt. It was a weird look. But Shara Magomedov,
Carlos Starza did like the Spider-Man meme.
I spent my $10 to see Shara Magomedov fight Blood Diamond, and it was an all-timer. Magomedov puts it on him in the first round. Blood Diamond kind of draws even in the second. In the third, Magomedov pulls away. But what I learned from that fight against Blood Diamond in just Muay Thai, rather kickboxing, what I learned from Magomedov in MMA, when this guy has space, again, he's a dynamo, and I'll let you kind of talk about some of the techniques. I have a lot of notes on the technique as well. But for Magomedov, when he's inside of a phone booth, this guy's hips are dynamic. His spinning attacks, his elbows, his back fists are dynamic. The only spot where I've really seen Magomedov struggle is some of that takedown defense. But Magomedov's one of those guys where, again, I say it, if you know some of those fighters that are out there, the Darren Tills of the world, the Imran Tatsulayev fights, like if you look at the guys that Magomedov's trained with, whether it's been in Thailand, whether it's been in his native Russia, he's one of those can't miss type of prospects, and he gets a tough debut.
That's what I was going to start
against Bruno Silva.
This is one of the better opening fight cards, or opening fights that you will get on a card.
If it's still there by the end of the week.
Very good point. But the point is, for Bruno Silva, like, he has been known for being one of those crazy must-see TV type of fighters, right? He might not be the best middleweight has to offer, because you understand, for all the strengths he possesses, the punching power, the fairly good BJJ when he's able to get it down to the mat, especially in dominant positions, there are some holes there in his game at this stage. And at this point in his career at 34, he's had a decent amount of fights, right? Like, this could be his 33rd fight ultimately. So I wonder if he will be able to make those improvements as he does rise the ranks. Because to me, Bruno Silva is kind of falling into that 16th ranked middleweight. I think he'd be a tough fight for most people in the top 15, but I think a lot of those people with their well-roundedness would be able to get over the hump. But I think if you're outside the top 15 looking in, he's a very difficult matchup for you, and that's why I love this as an intro fight for Magomedov, because I love what Magomedov can do, and especially like you had mentioned, in the open cage when he's able to implement his kicks, he's a much more dangerous fighter because they do help him close the distance. And the one thing that I don't love out of Magomedov is he will get a little bit overexcited when not only has an opponent hurt, when he is closing the distance, he will throw that spinning back fist where he'll leave himself a little bit open. It's not like a Murabdovashvili where he's spamming it like a Beyblade over and over again, but he can leave himself open to be countered by a big shot. And if Bruno Silva has any chance in any fight to land that one big shot, you gotta believe he has it, because he does have that lasting power. I know that Gerald Meerschaert fight, it was a weird one. We're gonna bring it up every time Bruno Silva fights, but it does leave some openings for, hey, if Gerald can land some of those straight shots down the middle, Magomedov can definitely disguise some of his kicks in with the combinations, and if he's able to get that part of his game working, it's gonna be a difficult fight for Silva, because for as questionable as the takedown defense of Magomedov is, I don't know if Silva's the type of fighter who's just gonna decide, hey, I'm putting on the wrestling shoes, I'm only shooting takedowns from go. I think he is gonna strike a little bit to warm up in the fight.
Yeah, and that's where things can get a little bit squirrely. You look at it for Magomedov, even in the fight against Blood Diamond, he checks every single leg kick. He's one of the best guys at checking leg kicks that I've seen in a really long time. Does he have the most
Mortal Kombat tapology picture of all time?
He does. He's got the braided rope around his head and around his arms. But again, you saw that from Magomedov in Muay Thai. Now, again, Dave Leduc reference, famously hated Muay Thai, so he probably wouldn't be a big Magomedov fan. But when you go back and you watch these fights, whether it is with Blood Diamond, throwing axe kicks, leg kicks, teep kicks to the body, I saw on multiple occasions in his MMA and Muay Thai career, Magomedov would go left hook to the body, left kick to the body, like there was no time between them. So he really is the Justin Tucker of kicks when it comes to MMA. But going back through and looking at Magomedov's overall record, combined opponent record, 119-57. And it is pretty decent level competition. You look at it, he became the TFC middleweight champ back in December of last year. That was the last time that he fought. He took on 7-6 Casul Villas. And if you go back and watch that fight, Matt, Villas 2 fights before then. Again, this is a middleweight fight at 185. He fought at bantamweight, featherweight, and then middleweight. And Mr. Villas runs across the cage like he's, well, not really Marcin Prachnio, but hands completely outstretched, eats a knee for his trouble, then there's a ground and pound finish. It was done in less than 10 seconds, a win for Magomedov. But you go back through and you look at it before that, I think the most kind of competitive fight that he's had so far in his MMA career, second to last fight with RCC Mikhail Rogozhin. And you watch that fight, Rogozhin's able to land some good shots. And listen, if you watch the Magomedov tape, whatever discipline it is, I've seen him knocked down in some of these fights.
And I was just about to ask you, if Bruno Silva can eliminate the kicks, because I think that's the range he struggles the most with, really with anybody on the feet, right? Silva in that boxing range has enough power, has enough technique, to where he really is a threat to anybody. He landed clean on Alex Pereira, so guess what? I bet you can land clean on Magomedov. But the question really comes into, can he collapse that distance and eliminate the kicks? Because if Magomedov is allowed to just keep on landing that left kick to the body, softening up Bruno Silva, making him more of a sitting duck as this fight continues, then Magomedov should be able to just rinse and repeat that kind of a game plan over and over again. But it comes down to, can Bruno get him up against the cage and just start to eliminate some of that offense? Because if you turn Magomedov into strictly a boxer, well, I think Silva can have success in that kind of fight.
And we have seen Magomedov hit in those spots. Again, the opponent that I mentioned, Rogozhin, that's one that you got to go back and watch the fight against. Martinov, that was the one before the Rogozhin fight, so his third to last fight. Wins that one in the third round. A lot of knees in the clinch. His opponent falls down, but in that one, his opponent really tires as it goes on. He wins a light heavyweight championship with Arena Global 17 against Rodrigo Carlos, who's 27-21. The guy was a tomato can, but I think the best fight where you were able to see some resolve out of Magomedov was against Mikhail Alakverdian over with AMC Fight Nights Global. In that one, his opponent pressures him behind the black line up against the cage for most of the first round, and then all of a sudden Magomedov bites down in the mouthpiece, he lands a left elbow and drops his opponent, and it's a giant comeback win like he's Edson Barboza. Not really, but kind of. You look at Bruno Silva again, 4-3 in the UFC, the losses, Brendan Allen, Alex Pereira, and GM3. You look at that Brendan Allen fight. Silva was all over him and had Allen hurt right up until Allen throws 2 hooks. It drops Silva. He gets down to the mat. No hook rear naked choke, and it's over. Silva's loss against GM3. He tired. He got dropped by that short right hand, and it was all GM3. But the wins, Brad Tavares, Jordan Wright. You see it against Andrew Sanchez, Ultimate Fighter winner, and Wellington Turman. 3 performance bonuses in those last 3 wins. And against Wellington Turman and Alex Pereira, you were able to see some of that grappling out of the man out of Elu Sao Tai in Bruno Silva. So again, 20 of 23 wins for Bruno Silva by knockout. The knockdown ratio in the UFC is 2-2. For Magomedov, 10 of 11 wins by knockout. I'm surprised. Magomedov, a 2-1 favorite in the matchup in his UFC debut against Bruno Silva. We have a look at the Topology votes. Matt, surprise to us there. To you, I'm going to say over under 70% Magomedov just because I see those odds that are there.
I think they'll be under.
Think they're going to be on?
Not at all.
1,350 total votes, 83% Magomedov, 78% by knockout for the 17% that have Silva, 70% by knockout. So Matt, the fans see a knockout with Magomedov. He can be a sore loser in grappling tournaments. I'm eager to see what we get out of him because, again, I know we kind of scoffed on this and question mark kicks last week about Terrence McKinney shooting a takedown. I wouldn't be surprised
if people out in 10 seconds. You don't really have to worry
I wouldn't
about
be
it.
surprised if Bruno Silva closed the distance, tried to take this to the mat.
I agree with you. It's just my whole point is he might go for takedowns, but there's going to be a minute. There's going to be 2 minutes where he's not. Like, I just don't think he's going to go in there with the mindset of, hey, I'm Chael Sonnen now. My knees are going to get rug burn on them, and I'm just shooting double legs all night. He is going to go for takedowns, probably. I just think during that feeling out process, it is going to leave him as a bit of a sitting duck. I got to be honest, everybody else's confidence on Tapology makes me a little worried. I do have Magomedov as the pick in this fight because I just worry about where Bruno Silva's durability is at this stage of his career. GM3 was able to hurt him. Brendan Allen's a pretty good fighter, for being honest, but he doesn't have, like, 9 out of 10 one-of-one punching power, right? He is a good fighter when he's able to land clean shots, but if Magomedov's able to replicate some of the success that those previous fighters were, I think he can put Silva out.
If you can get Bruno Silva a plus 160, I say I'm picking him at that. I mean, I'm going with Bruno Silva in the matchup. For Magomedov, again, I'm not joking when I say this. He is one of the most impressive Muay Thai prospects that I've ever seen, regardless of the competition that he's facing. This guy, again, an up elbow and then same side body kick after that. I saw that in his fight against Rogozin. Double spins. He's able to do a lot of crazy stuff. He will put himself out of position in some of these spinning attacks, and we saw it against, who was it? Martinov and Rogozin. Spin attack, he slips. He used to be able to get away with it in Muay Thai. You saw it in the Blood Diamond fight because what happens when you spin and you slip? Well, the referee calls a pause, and then you're allowed back up. But in MMA, Magomedov does these things, and then his opponents can get on top of him. He's got a good first move initially in these fights, but again, he does struggle with a lot of the takedowns. So I'll go with Bruno Silva in this one. Matt going with Shara Bullet Magomedov. Let us know down below in the comments section who you have. Some big-time fights on this card. It almost feels to me like there's 2 title fights up at the top, even though there's one.
A little bit.
Make sure you check out these videos. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.